Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country. My guest tonight is a country music legend with 23 chart hits from the late 50s through the early 80s. And, of course, the number one song, The Bridge Washed Out, and I Can't Swim, and My Baby's on the Other Side. He is back with a brand new CD, some fantastic songs, and he's here to talk with us about that CD tonight and his great career. It's a true honor to welcome Warner Mack to My Kind of Country. Warner, how you doing tonight?
Oh, fine. Good to be here with you, Scott.
Well, I really appreciate you taking time. It's an honor to be able to talk with you, my friend.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, a brand new CD. You got some great songs on here. And what made you decide to release a CD after all these years?
Well, I've had most of the let me say this too. I got a little mushy talk. I've had a little tooth work, so I hope that doesn't get on your nerves.
That's all right.
My head gets on mine. But anyway, I've had quite a few things put away, in the can, as they say. And then the last thing I cut has been about up to 2 years ago. And I've listened to a lot of stuff I had, and I thought, well, I'd love to have a new CD, and I thought it was time. So that's what I'm going to give it a shot.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm really glad that you did that. There's some fantastic songs on here, and one of those songs I remember back from a long time ago. It was one of your first records. It was called Rocka Chicka.
Yeah, yeah. That's Florine. You've been talking to Florine on the phone. See, that was her idea to put that out. That goes back to when I first started my career, back a long time ago, and. Even more than she thought, well, I'll put Rocket Chick on there. So it sounds up to date today, so I thought, well, why not? So there it is.
Well, that's the neat thing about a lot of these songs. They're still relevant today, and the subject matter is very relevant today. So these are songs that people need to hear again, and I'm sure you're going to be introducing these songs to a whole new audience now,
Yeah, I'm sure of that. I'm sure I hadn't been around for quite a while, so I'll be a brand new audience for me anyway.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Rocka Chicka, you really wanted to be a rockabilly singer, didn't you?
Well, no, I grew up being a big Hank Williams fan, and of course, I got my singing career started in church. My dad was a minister, and I was a PK, that's preacher's kid. And so that's where I sung all my life in church, and we sang as a family. But I always wanted to be a country singer. Of course, rockabilly was sort of big at that particular time when I started out.
Uh-huh. Now, you have the distinction, and there aren't a lot of artists that can say this. You were actually born in Nashville, right?
Yeah, I sure was. I was born here at the General Hospital many years ago. I lived on 19th Avenue. I still go by the place where I lived every once in a while.
Oh, wow. That's really great.
Yeah. I lived here for 7 years, and my dad was a minister, like I said, and we moved to Jackson, Tennessee, and we moved down there for 2 years. And then I grew up down in Vicksburg, Mississippi.
And I read also that you had an offer to join the St. Louis Cardinals as a baseball player.
Yeah, I went to a tryout camp with the Cardinals, and I was offered a chance to go play ball with in the Saturday League. It was in spring training, and but my dad was going. He was down at that time with cancer of the brain, so I didn't go.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a good thing that you didn't go, because it might have been a whole different career. We wouldn't have had all this great music from you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, tell me about the Louisiana Hayride. I know you got your start with them.
Well, that was many years ago. A fellow by the name of Jack Everson took me down to the Louisiana Hayride. I remember the first night I was there, and I thought I was going to sing, and I never got on stage because there was a guy there that was a little bit ahead of me. He went over to be. His name was Elvis Presley. So, that's how I become acquainted with the Louisiana Hayride many years ago.
Wow, and you were on Red Foley's Ozark Mountain Jubilee too, right?
Sure was, yeah. I was on there a couple of times with Brenda Lee. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So how did your first recording contract come about?
Well, I started out with I was a disc jockey in Vicksburg, Mississippi. I was DJing, and this guy used to come by the radio station and drop off records of new artists. And I got him to introduce me to Mr. Paul Coyne, who was an A&R man at that time. Warren Bradley was his right-hand man, and Paul was the head man then. As it wound up, of course, Owen became the big cheese, and but that's how I got started. I was a disc jockey, and I went to Nashville. That's what they used to have back in the old Andrew Jackson Hotel days. They had the disc jockey convention. They have it once a year, where I think what they call it fanfare now. And so I got to talk to him, and he said, well, come on up. And I had a demo that I had played, and one of them was, Is It Wrong for Loving You? And he said, you going to be in town tomorrow? I said, well, I sure can make it a plan to be in town. He said, we'll be at the Columbia Studios out here at 2 o'clock. And so I was there, and he had me sitting on a stool singing about 2 o'clock. I guess I was testing to see if it was really me. And he said, okay, we got a session started. And that's how I got started with, I started out with Decca Records. That's how I got started.
You wrote Is It Wrong real early. You're 13 years old, right?
Yeah, well, I was 13, yeah.
My gosh.
I wrote it after this girl I had gone out that night and take her home, and I forgot my hat, and I went home, and she was sitting on the front porch with another boy. And so I didn't think too much about it, but the next day I was mowing the yard, and I started singing, Is It Wrong for Loving You? Out mowing the lawn, and that's where I lived in Vicksburg.
Wow.
That's how that came about.
Well, that was a big song for you right out of the gate in 1957. It went all the way to number 9 in the charts. And
yeah, Sonny James went number 1, you know.
Yeah. Must have been great to have somebody record a song that you wrote, huh?
Oh, yeah. You know, after the light, Ricky Van Sheldon did after the lights go out. And I was so proud of that, Lord, to hear Ricky do that. And it went number 1 in Cashbox, and then I think it was number 2 in Billboard. I don't know if it was 1 or 2, but anyway, I count it as number 1 record, and it is a big thrill to have somebody else sing your song.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one you kept for yourself that was a smash number 1, your signature song, The Bridge Washed Out. Tell me about that song.
Well, a fella down in, that's when I was going through my car wreck, and this fella come to see me, lived in Montgomery, Alabama, and he was a disc jockey down there, and he had been singing me songs all night to see if I could hear something that I liked, and I didn't like anything. And he was leaving out the door, and he said, I got this thing called The Bridge Washed Out. I said, well, let me hear what you got in, and that's all he had was a bridge washed out, and I can't swim, and my baby's on the other side, and I wrote all the rest of it later on. But that's how that came about.
What a great song.
Jimmy Lewis, that was his name, Jimmy Lewis.
Jimmy Lewis.
He was a disc jockey down in Montgomery, Alabama.
Well, you mentioned you had a pretty serious car accident. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was in a car wreck in Indiana. I was trying to think of the name of the town. I can't think of it. But anyway, I had a busted inside, and I didn't know it until they got me back to Nashville. I was just about dead with the fever had just about set in on me. And so I died a couple of times on the operating table, but I'm here still trying. So.
Well, that's wonderful.
I won't talk too much about the car wreck, but that's what had happened.
Wow. Now that was right at the time when Bridge Washed Out was hitting real big, right?
Well, I had a thing out then called Sitting in an All-Night Cafe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you ever remember that or not.
Oh, you bet I do. Number 4.
It was a song written by the Glazer brothers.
Yeah, that went number 4 for you in 1964.
Yeah, he was a big record. He had a good record for me.
Absolutely, and
that sort of got me started. And I think right after that was the Bridge Washed Out. I believe right after that.
Yep. And you had, oh my gosh, you had Sitting on a Rock, Crying in a Creek right along that time, and Talking to the Wall. Talking to the Wall is one of my favorite songs. I love that one.
Thank you.
And those are all top 10 songs for you. And It Takes a Lot of Money. Drifting Apart, boy, that's another. Man, I love that song.
Yeah.
Did you write that one?
Yes, I wrote it. A guy by the name of Hal Gurney. I wrote it with him. He had the idea, but I finished it and recorded it, and it became a big record for me. Drifting Apart.
Boy, it sure did. And How Long Will It Take was another big one, and. I did that
with my sister Dean. She does a tenor on that.
Oh wow!
And she was real thrilled about that.
Now you did an album with your sister too, right? And I think it was nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah. Those songs we sang in church and home. From Time to Eternity. He Stepped from Time to Eternity is on that session. That songs he sang in church and home. Guy by the name of Jack Caldwell wrote it. Jack is deceased now, but he was a policeman down in Mobile, Alabama. And he wrote the Hank Williams thing back in 1953, the death of Hank Williams.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I recorded that. He Stepped from Eternity to Time.
Another song on this album that I think is just absolutely beautiful. It really applies to what's going on a lot right now. It's called Pray for Your Country. Tell me a little bit about that.
That's well, it's not a sacred song. It's a
patriotic type song. Yeah,
patriotic is what I'm trying to say. That's the word I'm trying to find. Patriotic, yeah. And I've had a lot of talk about it, and people want me to put it out. So there it is.
There's an unreleased song on this album, too, that has never been out. It's called Love Words.
Yeah. That's what I sort of snuck in there that I did. Love Words.
Now, you wrote that song. When did you originally record that? Do you remember?
Well, I did that originally as a demo years ago. But I'm just now putting it out as a record. But it's the original. And I thought it sounded well enough to put it out as a single. And but I'm real proud of that little Love Words. It's a simple song, but it's a good song.
Absolutely. And folks, this album will be available online. We'll have that information on our Facebook page, and you can contact us directly too. We can get you in touch with Warner's people to make sure we get you a copy of this CD. It's called Better Than Ever, and great pictures on this too. I understand Tracy K. Houston helped put this album cover together, right?
Yeah, she did. I took the pictures, but I hadn't seen them. I don't know what they look like. Florine said, well, she did show me a picture at the session when I was doing the picture thing. She showed me a snapshot of it, but I couldn't tell which one that they used. But Florine said the one I took at the barn, a place called Barn, we call it the Barn, it come out real good.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
I'm just all hoping. I need all the use I can get.
There you go. Tell me about the song "Let's Put an Old Brush Arbor in the White House."
Well, years ago there was a song that people would. There used to be a brush arbor on the side of the road. It was made out of branches and tree limbs and leaves and hay. And my dad used to preach in them. And so I went to them, and they were like a tent, like a tent revival thing, except they were made out of wood, and that's how the country people back then would they called the old brush arbor, and they would have services on the side of the road, and that's where I thought he preached a lot of love and everything, and I thought I would make something that tried to bring back the memory of the old brush arbor.
Warner, tell me about the song "I Want to Go Back," Page Boy Records from 1977.
Oh, that was just a song that I wrote that I thought was a good song, and I recorded it. There wasn't really no story behind it or love stories I know of, but people seem to like it. I want to go back to the way it was when I was loving you. It's real simple, but most songs that do good are simple.
That's right.
And so that's the story of "I Want to Go Back." It's really not much of a story to it. It's just a song that I wrote going down the road on a tour somewhere, and put it in my little recorder and took it home and saved it and put it on a session.
Well, one that you recorded this in 1960. It was released on Top Rank, "Prison of Love." Tell me about that one.
Yeah. There's no story much about it. It's just a song that I wrote, and I thought it was a little bit different. Telling the story out, they were looking for something different, and I tried to find that as being a little different. And I think it is too. I've listened to it a few times, and it does sound different.
It sure does.
Putting all the words and things about love in one song, it's not easy, but it came out real good.
It sure did. There's a couple songs on here too that you recorded with Lost Gold back in I think the early '80s. It was "Healing Waters" and "Augusta Mama" that you included on this project.
No, I never recorded. I never recorded that with nobody. I don't know how that come out. Those are brand new. Augusta Mama and "Healing Waters" are brand new songs.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. So these two songs, "Healing Waters" and "Augusta Mama," have never been released.
No.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you had those in the can for a while, huh?
Well, that's about my 2-year songs there. That's about 2 years, close to 2 years on both of them since I recorded them.
Wow, that's fantastic. And did you write both of those?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Warner, I wanted to ask you too about the Grand Ole Opry. I know you were a member for many years, and tell me some of your experiences at the Grand Ole Opry.
Well, I really don't. There's so many different experiences. I remember the first time I was there, that Roy Acuff introduced me. My first time being on the Opry, and I remember I got a thing that. I was on the opera 64 times on the opera stage, and so I didn't realize I had been over there that many times. But I don't really have anything outstanding. If I did, I probably wouldn't tell it anyway.
You did a lot of tours overseas too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did quite a bit overseas, yeah.
Warner, I want to wish you the very best, and I want to thank you so much for taking time to be on My Kind of Country.
Thank you, Scott. It's really been a pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate you taking the time out to do this interview with me. It really appreciate it.